Hello and welcome, one and all, to the Captain's Table. This is our 24-hour Captain's Table. This is session 4, so I am 6 hours in to the table of the 24 hours. If you're watching this live, keep sticking around with us. We're raising money for a charity called Gamers Outreach, which helps children in hospitals. They're gamersoutreach.org, I think is their website. But we've raised over $1,000 or $1,300 for them so far. So feel free to give, donate to it. Our goal is $2,000. And welcome. We're going to be talking all about Star Citizen and, not so much Squad 42, but Star CitizenCon as well. And I have joined with me some two new guests. We've got Mr. Tree 0311. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? Where can they find you?
Yeah, I'm Tree 0311 or 0311 for all you Marines out there. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Tree0311. My Discord is also, if you just do the discord.gg/Tree0311, you can join my Discord. I also have YouTube now, but I don't have the custom YouTube, so the link is in the about on my Twitch. And I'm also on Twitter. It's Tree0311-SC. I am now the official host of the Pathfinders podcast, which we do. The announcements go live on Twitter as well as in Discord during events, or using the event system. And it's also getting uploaded onto my YouTube. So if you miss them live, you can catch them on my YouTube. I'll be putting the old ones up there soon as well. And I'm also just doing gameplay streams on Twitch, playing Star Citizen. We're going to start doing some co-op streams with people in my Discord. And I just started a new segment that I'm doing live on Twitch, posting to YouTube, called Lore Equals Gameplay. I pirated that, Paul.
Yes.
Where I read the new narrative posts and then do sort of guided tours of, hey, how does this narrative stuff apply to the gameplay? It's just taking my interest in the lore from watching AstroPub and reading all of it at Astro Historian and applying it to what Nazareth and I do with the Pathfinders podcast, which are deep dives on the development of Star Citizen and all the gameplay mechanics, stuff like that.
You and I could not have predicted what they did, because we saw, you saw me post that, CIG, shadowed there to show you how quickly CIG does this. The lore post on Tuesday was a mention of citizen versus civilians, but it ended with a mention that's saying, oh, there's this new show being broadcast in Stanton called The Only Constant. And they made a joke about how many times it would break down before it actually goes
on live. A Connie, yeah.
On a Connie. It was broadcasting on a custom Connie, and then when they pulled in for CitizenCon and they turned on the cameras, they showed The Only Constant. I was like, you pieces of shit! God damn it!
My first reaction was like, no freaking way.
So that was pretty awesome. So that's a good example. So yeah, check them out. And then we've got Mr. Hey, it's Nick.
Oh,
hello.
Good. What were you gonna say? Oh, you had an announcement.
I was just gonna say, but go ahead, Nick. We can go back.
Yeah,
no. We I can wait. I'm patient. You can go.
Okay.
What did you want to say?
I can't believe I almost forgot. I am almost to affiliate status on Twitch. I need 6 more follows. So if you can help me get over that hump, all of my content if I get towards monetization, it is all going to go towards veterans charities, because I'm a veteran. Gaming and gaming communities helps me with, my PTSD and my struggles. And so I'm giving back to that. And so anything and everything initially will go towards Stack Cup. And if you enjoy Atira Kel, who was on earlier, and he and I were on the AstroPub a while back, or office hours a while back, or not office hours, Captain's Table, as well as Night Cobb. He and I the 3 of us are starting a new podcast at the end of the month called Armchair Admirals and Generals. And so we're going to be doing that on a monthly basis and doing a lot of what Atira Kel and I did on office hours, looking at Star Citizen from a military veteran type perspective, those sorts of things. So if you're interested in that,
if you haven't had any things yet, I suggest a name to Armchair Commanders.
Ooh, okay. Well,
good.
And it's CMDRS.
I might.
There's a lot of armchair commanders.
Yeah, because it's neutral. It rolls nice and that kind of stuff. It's very.
I went with the admirals and generals just because Night Cobb is Navy,
Mhm.
and Tirakel is Army.
Army and your Marines. Yeah.
And and so I've played a lot around with the announcement will go live in my Discord after we're all done with this, and I'll be posting the logo that I've made as well as the current work in progress for the scenes for Twitch. And One Flame just asked what No Air Force representation. It's just the three of us for now, but we are going to be taking in guests, and so if you are a veteran or if you want to be on the show, we are going to be bring on people to come and talk with us. It's just going to be I want to reach out to her and ask her because I'd love to have her on. But that is the goal, is to sort of like, because they won't be able to make it sometimes, just like with office hours, trying to get people on schedules, things happen. And so I would love to take in people from all over the community who are veterans or actively serving. And hey, what are your thoughts on this? All of that going on.
That's great. That's good. All right. Aurelia. Okay. I'm going to just screw up her name constantly. That's the point. I'm just going to start going off the wall and be like, Aurelio. That's just, at this point. It's just a couple other names that will come up, obviously, probably even in this comment, are DJ Knight and Sergeant Tickles are the ones as well. Because
please give me suggestions.
Yeah, because DJ was in the Air Force and Sergeant Tickles was in the Air Force as well. So if you're looking for other ones, of course, there's other ones as well. I think even Scorpion who just raided was in the military. I think he was a Marine. So, so he'd be a good one to talk to too. So
more crayons, please.
Crayons for the crayon guy. Nick, who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? Where can they find you?
All right, mine will be quick. Hey, it's Nick. I'm generally just in a part background of the community, a part of just a lot of content creators background streams. So I do create some content here and there, but not regularly. So you can catch me on twitch.tv/Hey It's Nick and YouTube Hey It's Nick, TikTok Hey It's Nick, because I'm actually enjoying TikTok. Yeah,
it's a good platform. I've been doing the shorts recently, and it's worked pretty well. So. Sorry, I'm eating a little bit. Based off of the similar kind of thing. So, all right. So, with that, sorry, you said beautiful colors in chat, Tree, and the only thing I could think of was eat crayons, poop rainbows. All right, let's go. Let's go with you, Nick, on this one. We've been talking about CitizenCon. Nick, what is your big ups, the big things you took away, the positive things from CitizenCon this year?
The biggest ups and biggest takeaways I've gotten from this year's CitizenCon is definitely at least they improved a lot over last year's CitizenCon. And last year's CitizenCon, I feel like they just, they didn't really, it was just, so far back in my memory that it's hard to like pinpoint it, but the way they showed the visuals of what they were working on while also deep diving into it just flowed so nicely in each segment. And my favorite thing about like my biggest ups is the Lorville Redux and the bunkers, because and especially I was at the Toronto Bar Citizen last night, and the one thing we talked about at there was just how nice it is that they're making a single bunker that's big but can accommodate all the mission types at that one bunker location. I'm like, yes, this is so good for systemic gameplay. And it's just like, just the way that they're actually building out these bunkers to actually support multiple dynamic systemic gameplays in a single location that could be just spread across. I'm just thinking about just going all over the place now. And the exploration in me is excited for that.
Awesome. Tree, your thoughts as well. Positives.
I would say the positives for CitizenCon was predominantly everything was this is all being worked on right now, or for like some of the Squadron 42 stuff, the flight model, the speed changes, it's hey, this is being worked on, this is in game, or this is either being worked on or it's in game and we're testing it, refining it. It's not anything pie in the sky. The only thing that was sort of out there was the investigation stuff. which, you know, I enjoyed the elevator pitch, but everything else was, and they said it multiple times that, you know, that this is stuff that's being worked on now, because I think they sort of got the message from previous years that, you know, the community really isn't into the huge theory crafting. This is in 5 years. We want to see what's being worked on now, what's coming up soon, you know, what we can expect for the, you know, you've said this, Paul, what's coming in the next year. And I feel like a lot of what they showed was, hey, this is stuff we're going to be seeing on ISC, you know, in the only constant over the next, you know, few quarters, a whole lot of, which to me was really exciting. And the other thing is the presentation. You know, Nick, you talked about the underground facilities in Lorville. The way that they presented those, going from, you know, because initially I was a little bit skeptical because they start out with the, you know, the concept, just the shape, the shape language, but then they went into concept art, and then they went into white box and gray box, and then they're flying around it in engine. You know, it was
that's one
just
thing that
phenomenally well presented. Yeah, I started off and I was like, oh my goodness. And then when they're showing off everything for the underground facilities, all I could think of was, this is, with the way they're drawing the concept art, they're basically just showing you that this is how the procedural locations tool is going to take things that are already in game and turn them into something new and bigger and better. You know, the procedural locations tool is getting off the ground right now, but all the art you're looking at is like, I've seen that before, and they're just presenting it in a different way in order to make these massive underground facilities. And then if you know the lore and you watch Lore Equals Gameplay, you'll know that the underground facilities, you know, we have them on in Stanton. They're also going to be in Pyro. They're also going to be in Nyx. And so we're going to see, you know, iteration on the finished ones still being used by Bering or what have you, but you're also going to see the abandoned ones in the future. So it's huge, super cool.
Also, the way they did the concept art to the actual showing white box, gray box of it. At first I was seeing concept. I'm like, oh no, not just concept art again, not just concept art again. And then they actually showed the white box and gray box of it, that they're actually actively working on it. And I'm like, yes, this is what I wanted. I want to see actual work being done on it and not just art drawn out of it. And that threw me for a loop a little bit. And I was so happy to actually see the actual work being worked on, and not
and
just
it highlights
like
the work of a lot of devs too. You know, it's not just really shows one person. It's
it's really not just one artist just drawing out, this is what it might look like. It's just like, no, here's what it'll look like, and here's what the scale is, and we're actually blocking it out for it in game right now. And it is showing just the work and dedication that they're doing to it. Really just kind of elevates how much, you know, dedication I also have to the project, because it's just like, if you're dedicating to this as much as you are right there, then like I'm right there with you. Like, let's go, let's get these bunkers in. Like,
and the hype for asteroid facilities after underground facilities, and then the hype for ArcCore 2.0.
Oh yeah, that's all good. All right, so I've been doing this thing where I've been going through each section. So I've been hitting, because I've got to do this for a while. So I'm doing, I've been hitting every single card on the way down. And I talk about the goods, and then I talk about the bads. So the last one I talked about was the New Underground, and I agree, it's my favorite one. It was, as I said, no notes. Perfect, no notes. The only complaint about it I had was it's not in game yet.
Yeah, that's the only complaint. It's not there. It's not in game. I can't play it right now. Why can't I?
You're reaching for it.
Just give me the white box. Just give me the white box map. I'll play that.
And that was some really good looking white box.
Well, there's a mix of gray box art in there too, because they're using existing assets and, you know, all that cookie cutter stuff for game dev.
Yeah. It was a lot of it looked like existing assets. That's the thing. When you look at the concepts, like I see that already. That's like in the underground facilities. That's in like Lorville. That's in the different like the refinery decks. It's like you see a lot of those parts already, like in the hangars. You see those parts already available in game. So
Paul, you said it really does a lot to corroborate what we see on the progress tracker and what we read in the monthly reports.
Yeah,
we have 3 data points to see where these things are now, you know, to really get an understand of how much progress is actually being made.
I feel like that's one thing that like the citizencon hit really well is like Like looking at the progress tracker, we don't actually see the progress. And this CitizenCon, it felt like it really showed us the progress of the project at the moment.
Yeah, they definitely were showing us what is off the table right now. Like what is going on right now behind the scenes. If we were to like go to a CIG office right now and look at what they're doing, this is what they would be doing. Like obviously some of these segments were filmed in September and some were in August, but like what they would been doing for the last year. So, all right. Now my next card is the need for multiple speeds. And I'll say the good thing about it is it's a necessary change. We all want to explore space, and we need a way of doing it without having to go to a fixed quantum location. And that's what the Q quantum boost is for. It's good for that sort of gameplay. And then I think the change to reduce your shields while you're in a specific mode will prevent light fighters from abusing their speeds everywhere. So they have to slow it down. They'll still be fast, but in comparison, not blazing fast to get out of combat. And I think they'll definitely tweak it around for the general gameplay. I think it was a good, this is the start. It's going to be put into Squadron, and then we're going to put it into Star Citizen and then tweak it some more to make sure it works right. And you definitely see they cared about it, and they obviously played it. They were like, we've played a lot of this, and this is not the first version of this. I think did John Cruz say they got up to fish names? How many iterations they've been doing on this?
It's like how many? We didn't even think of a name. Just go on a list of names, pick a name because we're running out.
Yeah,
Bumblebee tuna.
Yeah, exactly. And any other? Someone's asking. So did I see Yogi's? Yes. I've mentioned it multiple times in the stream. He posted it 2 hours before I started streaming, so we've been clarifying it all day. And Yogi's also already talked about how like the shields work and it's not an instant drop. It's still going to need some tweaks though, because you can still overwhelm somebody who's trying to run, and you want to like tweak it so it's not like you get jumped, you're screwed because you can't run away. But you still want to make it so that if you get jumped, that person has to know what they're doing when they get jumped to effectively get out. So
you should be able to have the option to at least attempt to run away if you're skilled at it. And if it at that point becomes a balance of skill of like who's a skilled fighter attacking versus who's a skilled escaper who's escaped a lot,
who has the right equipment, all that kind of thing. So
with the master modes, and going into this one, I was very confused just by the description of it. Mm-hmm. I really like, because I think it's a big quality of life thing with the not being tied to, physical things that you have to jump to this, have to jump to that. Being able to, okay, well, I'm going to quantum to this planet or this moon, and then just point myself at here's my objective marker, and be able to just cruise to, towards that until you get into gravity, and then you fly SCM. It's huge versus having to, okay, well, I'm gonna have to align to here and then try and time turning off my engines in order to not overshoot it. It's a big quality of life upgrade. My only concern, and it's not so much a concern, is it's the whole benefit of giving them the benefit of the doubt because I want to see it and I don't think they're going to go away from it. Is the risk versus reward within quantum for long quantum jumps from because I just talked about the quantum travel and quantum drives as part of a scanner anomaly on the I think it was episode 23 of the Pathfinders podcast, and there was a whole lot. CR talked about CR did a huge big post on Spectrum about quantum drives, and there was a lot of talk about the risk versus the reward, the player agency with that, diverting, and it was tied into the resource management system of diverting power, to your quantum drive in order to go faster by creating a stronger quantum bubble, diverting coolant in order to stay within that, stay within quantum for longer, not overheating, turning off your engines, your shields in order to make that happen. And now it's like, okay, the engines and the shields, or your weapons and shields. Your weapons and shields turn off-ish, kind of like they go into hibernation, and so they're still taking some power, and they still have some reserve, but then they come back up. And so I'm interested to see how they're still going to integrate the risk versus reward, the decision making, the importance of having an engineer on board for those long quantum travel segments, in order to make you go faster, or get there more cost effectively for quantum quantum fuel, or not have to make as many stops to cool down. That's what I want to see. The only thing I really disliked, well, I would say the ship panel, and I wasn't really super interested in it anyway, just because we have a lot of ships. But it was there really wasn't much to the ship panel. It was very short, and we got a new concept, and Steve looks like a lot of fun, and the UTV concept will be cool. But that was it. Compared to previous ship panels, there was not a whole lot of meat to it. And but the other thing is, they, with the master modes, with a lot of the stuff that CR and Richard Tyrer were talking about, there was a lot of details left out that apparently they had, and they could have saved themselves a whole lot of heartache by, instead of going into, Burke's, I think it was Burke's Twitch, and answering questions there, why didn't they have Q&As pre-written to answer some of these questions and say, hey, this is all we've got, time-wise to show you for now. I know you're going to have a lot more questions. Hopefully this Q&A that will be posted here will answer some of those. Please go read it, that. And so they, now we're getting these things piecemeal, and it's not as helpful as it could have been.
Well, they usually do,
and it doesn't reach the same audience.
On Spectrum, they usually collect questions for Q&As for when after the reveal ships, and it's usually not until like a week or two later that they'll actually post it, the actual answers to the Q&A, so they actually have time to formulate their thoughts and answers.
They could have done a whole lot to reduce the flame post CitizenCon by saying, hey, we're going to be doing Q&As. We have answers to some of your what the questions that we think you're going to have that we didn't have time to cover, and we're going to post those here, in order to say, okay, if you already don't have, because like the Yogi, he answered questions that were like, that's an obvious, those were obvious questions.
Mm-hmm.
And it could have just said, hey, we don't have the time to show you all the details right now. Here's more information, and here's where it will be linked. Put it in, I don't know, put it up on the RSI page, instead of, we're going to drip feed you later, and we're going to depend on these things that get passed around from screenshots from somebody's Twitch. It wasn't a great way to communicate a lot of stuff that they apparently already had information on.
All right, Nick, what did you dislike? And I'm ready for this. Hit me. Hit me. I've seen your Twitter. Hit me.
Yeah, I was watching too.
Okay. Yeah, I got opinions. I got strong ones. The Chris segment was good, but it was really dragged out for a long time. I know compared to last CitizenCon, everyone said there wasn't enough Chris. This CitizenCon, we got too much Chris. You need to just find him. You need to bring it back, find a good middle ground. It felt like I was watching.
How much would you? A question about that. How much would you dial back the Chris? Or were we talking 50%, 75%?
I feel like if they did 50% of what they did now, up to like the length of time, I feels like everything that. The amount of talking about points versus what they were showing on that point was way out of proportion. It was like someone talking for 20 minutes on a single PowerPoint slide, and it's just like, what? Like, you're filling so much time for making such little points on what is being shown, and it was like, oh, my brain is going numb. And I will get to the one thing that I really disliked, which was the announcements of skills, which was never announced before ever, and I'm in 10 years, and I'm no, I do not want that. I am nope. But I will not get any. I'll just say that's where I was like, nope, don't want skills. I have a reason for I have my reasons for not wanting it. People have their reasons for wanting it, and I'm gonna just leave it at that.
Yeah, and it's important to remember. I think Chris and CIG did a bad job of explaining it. It's not skills. It's not like you go ding do 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 do, and you have a little bar that you just put points into. It's a passive attribute system. The more you do something, the better you get at it. It's still skills, and there's still problems with it that I've seen Nick argue quite eloquently about, which I kind of agree with. There is a fine line they're walking, and they're opening up a huge Pandora's box with that. But at the same time, it's not a skill system. It's not like you hear skill system, you're like a skill tree. You're thinking like all these sorts of things.
Yeah, it's like a character stat sheet versus a skill tree in an RPG. It's not a skill tree in an RPG, but it's the stats that your character has that's more difference. And it's one of those things where it's just like the few things I've said on Twitter and I've discussed at the Bar Citizen on my issues on it is Chris Roberts and CIG for the past 10 years have constantly said they're not going to be adding a system like this in forever. And until yesterday, that was always the case. And until yesterday, it was always planned to be skill-based only. These RPG systems won't be coming in. And then yesterday, they kind of just pulled the rug out from under us and said, oh, we're adding skill systems to any of this. Surprise. And it's just like, for 10 years, I did not want that. Like I bought this game and I've been playing this game knowing that this game was going to be skill based only. And my issue is, even if these attributes only give like a 1% improvement to something, say like G forces or anything, it to me it just negates the fact that for one, they're going back against what they said about it being a skill-based game. As much skill as you need to do it, having a 1% improvement on the high end with high-tier PvP players, again, that's all a PvP player needs to dominate, even more than what they already are. And if you have equally level skilled players, throwing in a numbered variable into the base is diminishing the actual argument that this is a skill-based game. And even if it's just a 1% difference, I am against it. I am just completely against it. And that's where I'm going to be. Yeah.
It was Jared's expression, because that was not meant to be in there. That was off the cuff stuff. It was the one thing, one of the things besides the animals that they talked about that they didn't have anything prepared to show. And that's like, I'm not vehemently against the system, because it's give them the benefit of the doubt, just like Jared said. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt until I see it and see what the implementation is, because they did not, like, Paul, you said it on Twitter. The way that they were presenting it was not good. They did not communicate it very well. And that's why there's all these questions and all this backlash, because it wasn't planned, it wasn't scripted, there wasn't anything to show. There's tons of questions, and it came out of the blue. Whereas the other things,
this is why we don't let Chris have a show anymore.
Like the Chris and Richard the Chris and Rich segment would have been great had it been a scripted thing like the other segments, a scripted and edited, pre-recorded. Not, we're going to go on, and then we're going to let them get into the weeds and talk about things that they shouldn't, and open up cans of worms that we're not ready to open up. And the look on Jared's face, it said, look, the amount of work that you just made for me, and the amount of stress that, him and
Galactica and Tyler and Ulf
Tyler
and,
are going to have to,
Chris, Christian,
sorry, Galactica
and Jake, and all of them have the fires they're going to have to put out because of this. So
and the reasonable people of the community are going to be like, okay, I don't know how I feel about this. I'll look forward to hearing more about it.
Or
I do have my concerns.
Or give suggestions like, hey, these are things that we might alleviate some people's concerns. But like, then there are the people who will lose their
I feel like there was one. I feel like the one thing they should have at least addressed with adding skills to the game is immediately addressing why they're adding skills in the game, even though they said they weren't. That was the one thing they should have.
Why is it needed?
Said, why are the skills even needed in the first place? When you said these aren't going to be in the game, why is it needed? I understand it for AI and like varying the AI like helpers and everything and getting variations in them, a system like that just needs to exist in the background. But why are you adding it to players and adding it to player variability?
Because you're going to get better at doing something, actually doing it on your computer over time anyway.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Like the skill of the player should be the skill of the player, not an arbitrary number that a player just achieved.
Yeah,
and it's that's what Star Citizen was always about until yesterday.
Yeah, and this gives ammo to the people who are great. This is gives ammo to the whole feature creep, scope creep people.
Yeah,
because this has never been planned.
It's an RPG.
Now,
you know?
Yeah, and it's like, yeah.
So
and how is it relevant to Squadron? Or
yeah.
You know, or
yeah, how's it? Oh yeah,
how's
Squadron 42 going to be playing out now if there's an RPG element to it? Like,
yeah.
What? That wasn't a part of any discussion before. Like,
and people say, hasn't it always been an MMORPG?
Side.
No, Star Citizen's never been an MMORPG. Chris Roberts has never.
It's been an MMO. Yeah. But not an RPG. And
he calls it a universe simulator now, an MMO universe simulator. He has different rules, like things he used to like to call it, but he's never called it an RPG. All right, let's. I'll move on to my little section, my little gripe about the journey, the need for multiple speeds. As Tree kind of pointed out, they knew that people were going to have concerns about it. They knew this is sort of thing. Like there was going to be something about this, because everyone's going to have concerns about that. Especially that they knew. They even called it a huge change to. I'll read it. We all know how speed impacts combat, but learn how master boat modes initially developed for Squadron 42 will impact the flight experience for the persistent universe and better define ship roles for all vehicles in Star Citizen. They knew it was going to be a huge impact. That's why they got 5 people coming onto the show to talk about it. And it's like, I get it's for Squadron initially, but if you even just spun a little bit of saying we haven't fully nailed it down yet for the PU, we're going to work on it when we implement the PU. We're going to talk with you about it, which is obvious, and no shit, you're going to do that. That's how they've been doing it forever. But there's a difference between obvious and then telling people change and having them freak out. Because sometimes you just need to tell people, we get it. We know what your concerns are going to be, but we need to get to this point first before we get to that point. But like, come on, because there's obvious concerns that will happen with that. It was finely presented. And I actually agree with the changes. I think it's a good change. It's just they needed to be more granular in there, or at least leave more reassurances in there. So
the way they covered what they covered was good. They just didn't cover enough.
Yeah. And it was even just like maybe 3 sentences more, even just it's a work in progress. It's not finalized. It's the mode itself will be done for Squadron first, and we'll have a good solid idea of what it's supposed to be, but we might tweak some aspects for Star Citizen that will, for like trading or for larger ships and such like that, which they kind of already hinted at. Yeah. But like,
and also for interdiction, it's just like, how's it going to work in a PvP like interdiction scenario versus, a Squadron 42 interdiction scenario. Like a Squadron 42 interdiction scenario might need specific story points to play out, so they're going to restrict it in certain ways versus the PvP open world of the PU. The interdiction needs to just be kind of free flowing, and so how are you going to balance those two separate scenarios out?
Yeah. Don't set yourself up for
Yeah. Be careful with handling gamers. They scare easily and don't read.
I don't like reading. I like playing games.
Well, it's not even a joke. It's like a legitimate, like there's multiple. Someone posted me a video about like why I don't read in video games. It's like there's a reason most people don't read in video games, because they don't want to read. They want to play games, and there's a whole bit about that. But that's why I like the investigations mission stuff they talked about, was because it's like it's going to make you read, but not in a way that's like, read now. It's like, now you're going to have to puzzle. So you're going to have to go, okay, where are all my data points? And you find all these data points to figure out what I'm going to do. Especially for bounty hunters. Bounty hunters are going to figure out that it's pew is the last part of the job. Most of the part of the job is intelligence. It's doing the legwork. It's investigation, figuring out where this person's going, how they're doing it. Like that's like 98% or whatever.
Yeah, if an investigation leads into an actual bounty hunt mission, or just progresses that
Yes.
way, and then it's just like, this is the investigation, this is what I think it is, I'm submitting the evidence, and then they read the evidence and be like, okay, here's your contract to go get this guy now.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah,
now you
that's
gotta go
exactly
bounty hunt
what
this
Nazareth
person.
and I were talking about, is
Mm-hmm.
if they can tie that into, okay, this cargo went missing, this ship went missing, this person went missing, or this occurred, we don't know what it is. You go investigate it. Your investigation leads to all right, we're going to say that this person committed a crime, and that generates a bounty. If they can tie that into the NPC tracker service, where you are doing things in order to make an input into the NPC tracker service, that's the kind of systemic gameplay that will make that really interesting. And yeah, a lot of people don't read, but there is a subset of the gamer community that does.
Yes.
And giving something for us to do, because I do the investigation missions all the time.
Yeah.
Mostly just because I'm role playing it, and I'm imagining what it could be. But taking that and dialing it up to 11 for that percentage of the community, and tying it into something that's impactful, like giving the bounty hunters something to do, I think that'd be phenomenal.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like something like that is very important for the game. Anyways, that's a completely side tangent. Let's go on and talk about the next part, which is the end of the year, the rest of the year, and your this year so far. So, Nick, what are you looking forward to for the rest of this year between now and the end of the year? Is there anything big that you're looking forward to?
No. There's not really. No.
Salvage is no.
Everything. No, I'm not looking for a salvage. Just mining 3.0. I'm not really looking to. I'm kind of more interested in physicalized cargo, but they've shown nothing on physicalized cargo whatsoever. Not even in the ISCs. So I'm still confused and worried about where that is actually even. But I'm interested to hopefully try it if it does reach 318. But I have my concerns about that actually reaching 318 because they haven't shown anything on it. Because if it was ready, why not just show something in ISC or something? Or even in CitizenCon. They showed nothing on it. They've just brief mention of Chris Roberts just mentioning, oh yeah, it'll be in 318. And it's just like 318 is about to hit Ivocati and we haven't seen anything on it yet. So I'm so confused on the state of the cargo refactor and physicalized cargo.
Tree, what are you looking forward to in the next year?
I'm looking forward to my curiosity about the impact that PES will have on the dedicated game servers, because the way PES works is it should offload a ton of information from memory on the dedicated game servers. And so I want to see what is the impact to the dedicated game servers by having all that information, that burden offloaded from them. And so it's a curiosity that I've had for a long time. Yeah, we know that PES is going to have lots of bugs with state and saving those things and bringing it back, but it should make the dedicated game servers themselves more performant. And while we won't see a difference in game as far as like how things because they're just trying to get parity with what we have as far as item state and persistence. It's will this impact the performance of AI? Will this impact the stability of the dedicated game servers because they don't run out of memory from running for however long and then just crashing?
Yeah.
Will that impact be there? There's a few, I'm normally not too jazzed about ships, but there's a few on there that I am curious about for IAE, as far as unannounced things that they've been talking about. There's an unannounced variant. There's an unannounced ship, and then we just got the unannounced vehicle. So looking forward to seeing those. I think the whole sea is going to come in 318. They've been updating that sprint for the whole sea. They basically have said it is done polishing. It just, in reality, it really just needs the cargo refactor. And I think that is when they're talking about Tony Z, I don't think it's probability volumes. I think it's, the more quantum economy stuff in order to make the whole sea relevant. That's my sort of prediction. And so I'm very curious to see, with the cargo refactor is one thing. The economy stuff is something separate. And so you wouldn't see on the deliverable, on the actual release view of the roadmap, stuff relevant to the economy on the cargo refactor's deliverable. And so for cargo, I just expect that cargo will be physicalized, and but I also fully expect that we are going to get cargo containers of various sizes, because the props team, which got folded into, I think it was EU Sandbox, whatever, has been working on props for the cargo factor for like a year now. And so everybody is saying, oh, great, now I'm going to have to load or unload 1 SCU boxes. No, you're going to be getting a mix of 1 SCU, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. They have to have those things done before they bring in the the whole C, and I think that those are well on their way. So I'm just curious to see what that interaction is going to be like, and seeing that UI that because Jake talked about it, that UI that they showed back in June, that is planned for 3.18, and I want to see what the update on that looks like. How it actually functions.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that later. Demir, it's a good question. I'll bring that up because I don't think it's something completely different that you don't realize. I'm going to say with me going forward, I've said a bunch of things differently, but then I remembered something reading Monthly Report. There's an event. There's an event coming next in 3.18. No one's heard about it. They have been radio silent on it.
Oh yeah, I remember Anna. She did a session, voiceover session, acting session for it. Yeah,
recently as well. So we know that the Anna mocap session for it too, full mocap. So, and it's been mentioned a couple times by the narrative team that it's super personal and it's super it's like a personal story that they're trying to like get out there. That may have been mentioning the missions for like the Black Kite and the other one. It could have been that, but because that was fairly personal, especially with the chained up captain. I'm not gonna say anything else other than that. You all got to experience that yourself. Yeah.
Anna plays was it Rowena Dooley?
Rowena Dooley, SAIC, Special Agent in Charge of the
Special Agent Dooley
system.
Maybe we'll actually meet Dooley in person. Who knows?
Who knows?
She's been kidnapped. We have to go rescue her.
Ooh.
We have to do the investigation to go find where she
was.
Go find where she
hidden,
is.
Yeah.
The Ninetales kidnapped Commander Dooley. We gotta go rescue her.
Yeah. So there's definitely a mission coming up, or some sort of event. It could just be anything. It could be like an event for IAE or something else like that. They could have mentioned, but usually they'll mention that. It was just there's been a couple of mentions of like preparing for an upcoming event. So I think there's more than likely some sort of event kind of come up with the end of the year, for whatever that might be. So that's what I'm looking forward to with that. Now, let's go over the year as a whole and CitizenCon. Do you think this is an average CitizenCon, bad CitizenCon, average year, bad year, good year, best year we've ever had, worst year we've ever had, so on and so forth? Start with you, Tree, on this one.
I think it was a good year. I think it was better than average because they definitely, there was an 80% focus on this is what's being worked on right now, or this is already in Squadron. That was a huge improvement for me. And I like I said before, I love the presentation of the progress of, hey, this is concept art, but we're actually here now. And that was, to me, a really good way to go about it, given the way the community reacts to things. But they did so good on those panels for how that goes, and then they kind of dropped the ball on some of the other ones where we have answers that are obvious to these questions that we know you're going to have, and we don't have time to put them in the segment, but then we're just not going to talk about them until we get on somebody else's Twitch later. And that was, there was a very good, a mix of really good communication and a mix of really bad communication. And, with my, for me, communication is a huge part of my job, what I do in real life. I had to take 3 semesters of communication in college, and I'm not a comms major or, communications degree, but, you don't have to be an expert to know, there was a whole lot of yes, but a whole lot of oof as well. And so it was
a lot of oof.
Slightly better than average. Highs and lows.
How about the end of this? How about the year as a whole? Do you think it's an average as a whole? As
a whole, I think it's a very good year just because we are getting there's been a lot of miscommunications as well. Things that did not get communicated well, but there's a lot of, we are being shown very clearly that this is where we are with the game. it's no more. This is no more pie in the sky. No more napkin, back of the napkin drawings and stuff. It is these
I got
things
one
are
of those.
well into production, and releasing very soon. And we don't know if it's 3 months or a year soon, but it's not 5 years from now. It's right here. It is almost the light at the end of the tunnel is coming, and we're about to get hit by the train. It's not at the other
it's
end.
not going to be. It's not going to be a pleasant experience when this hits.
You'll be excited. The PS and server meshing train is coming. It's going to hurt, but it's going to be here.
Yeah.
I find it funny that you mentioned the paper on the napkins thing, because I have a paper. I have a writing on a paper from Benoit talking about server meshing for Montreal Bar Citizen this year.
Oh my god!
Yeah, there we go. So Nick, same question with you. How was the CitizenCon for you, and then how was the game overall for this year, do you think?
This CitizenCon was good, not great. They definitely dropped the ball on a few things. As he said, with the communication, I completely agree. Some communication was really good. Some communication was bad.
Yeah.
And overall, for this CitizenCon, it was good. Not great, just good. And for the entire year, I would say, in terms of communication, there were some bad ones, some good ones. It was overall good, not great, again. And I feel like the one thing that really they did improve on this year was communicating what is actually being worked on right now and what is being released right now. I feel like they kind of dropped the ball on actually making updates and releases to Star Citizen. But overall, I think for the Star Citizen as a whole, it was kind of just a good year, but not great.
Okay. I'm going to say this because I think this, like, thinking about it more as I've been asking this question, I think one of the major things is PES. Obviously, PES needs to come in, and that's a huge importance. And so getting PES in is a good addition. It's a necessary evil. Like, it has to happen. It's gonna suck. It's not gonna add much to the game initially, but it has to be in there for the game going forward. Same with server meshing. Like, server meshing is gonna have the same problems. It's going to be a disaster. There are going to be problems. You probably will not even be able to play it, but you need it in there so that when they start, even the next patch will probably improve dramatically. And we can see that with like the Gen 12. Like Gen 12 is going to be implemented with 3.18. It's pretty much entirely. And with that being done, we saw though, even a small, tiny portion of that added in 3.17, people's FPS went from like 20 to 50. Like over like one patch.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell happened? And it's like, that just shows you how much that just small changes can do to people's performance in game. And then
because as soon as you got to like an actual landing, not away from a landing zone, but once you just landed on a plane, you're just like, I have super smooth frames now. What? It's like, because that part is using Gen 12 fully.
Yeah.
If you're not near a city or anything, you're using fully Gen 12. If you don't got, and once volumetric clouds are in Gen 12, and once the cities are in Gen 12, then we should expect to see hopefully similar performance improvements to the city, especially with the Lorville rework, because Lorville is kind of a crapshoot right now.
And that should improve it overall. So that's those sorts of things added mean we'll probably put this year up to a great year. Right now, if we ended it right now, I would say it's a good year because we got things like refueling and all that kind of stuff. And I think the big thing is salvage. So many people have been asking for so many years. It is the meme that salvage keeps getting delayed. The fact that salvage is finally coming out is one of those things where people cannot hold it over the heads of CIG anymore. It's like, well, when's salvage?
It's here. It's right there.
It's like
no,
mining.
there's no.
Mining happened the same thing with mining. People were like, when's mining coming? When's mining coming out? Now mining's coming out. And it's like, well, I don't like mining. Well, you asked when mining was coming out. It's here. We've improved it more and continue to improve it. So, so that's the thing. And yeah, you'll have stuff people be like, oh yeah, but it originally was supposed to come out, 10 years ago or whatever. It's like, yeah, cool, whatever. But it's in now.
It's finally in. They can move past the saying it's in now. It's not. It's coming. It's in.
Yeah. And with player cap increases happened as well, and that was a big thing as well. So now I would say for CitizenCon, I would say this is a above average CitizenCon, better than last year's CitizenCon, because last year's CitizenCon was okay, but it felt like a weird ISC hybrid. This felt more like its own thing. Like I could see a CitizenCon like this, something like this being done for like an end of the year update or, you know, middle of the year update would be a great kind of like, not necessarily this long. Oh, no, please, Jared, don't. What do we have to do?
No more 2 hour
Jared,
talks.
what do we have to do to prevent the 2 hour talks from the future? Do we have to sacrifice something? Do we have to give up on you?
If they brought that
Bribe
down
somebody
to an hour,
to sabotage the power systems on their own constant.
Yes.
if they brought that down to the length of an ISC live to an hour, that would have been beautiful. It would have been good.
Perfect for an hour. Yeah. But yeah, that's that. I think that was the biggest thing for mock down for CitizenCon this year. Is just it was good information, but it could, and we'll probably see it. I've been saying this, like Eradicator or Nubifier or Board Gamer or Space Tomato or Super Mac Bros, or just keep listing off names of content creators. We'll probably take that 2 hour session, boil it down to about 10 minutes, and explain it in a way that's like reasonable and boom, like with all those clips and such. And people will get it a little bit more. So
yeah, there was maybe 6 minutes of B-roll.
Yeah.
In there, and you know, a few notes, and you've got that into, you know, a perfect Space Tomato video.
Yeah.
And he'll do a great job of it, but he'll have it done in a couple days.
Yeah. Well, that's it for us talking on the discussion session. We're going to move over to the question and answer session. So thank you so much so far for Tree and for Nick for coming on. Make sure you go check it's Tree 0311 on Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. No, it's on Twitter. It's 0311_SC, and then it's
-SC. Yep.
-SC, and then Hey It's Nick. It's Hey It's Nick on every platform: Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, all those sorts of things. Right?
I believe so. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
So you're gonna join them, and of course, make sure if you're watching this after the fact. I keep saying this, but there is a 24-hour stream that's going to be unlisted. It'll be on the top of this playlist, so you can watch all 24 hours, including me eating and setting up, and you can get a little glimpse behind the scenes of what happens when you do live setup here for Captain's Table.
Not pooping, chat. Not pooping.
Not pooping.
No.
not pooping for 24 hours. Waiting for that break.
Do it for the kids.
Like, guys, you need to donate and like run the stream for 20 minutes. I'll be back. Bio's gonna be a longer break.
Yeah, if we get to $2,000, you don't have to watch that.
Yeah. But make sure you subscribe and like the video, and I want to hear your own thoughts down below. Your thoughts on CitizenCon as a whole, and all the discussions we've had. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.